grab another food. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Brotman, and on behalf of the Oaks at Denville, I'd like to thank you for attending our LifeCare webinar. Now, typically, if we were going to have a group of people come in, I'd have 50 to 100 people coming to the Oaks, and I would present live. Many of you have already gone to my seminars, and you get a feel. It's really animated, it's fun, the food is great. We can't do a seminar like that anymore, and you know why, because of what's going on with the COVID-19 virus. So this is the second best way we can do it with a webinar. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us today. With regard to COVID-19, how are we handling that here at the Oaks? Well, I can tell you as of right now, I have no COVID-19 in my independent living. That means none of my residents have it, and I don't have any in my assisted living as well. And that's a testament to SPRINGPOINT Senior Living, our parent company. They were on it from day one. We started with taking temperatures. As soon as somebody comes into the building, if they work here, we take their temperature. They have to come back down again around 12 or 1 in the afternoon. We have to retake the temperature. We all have to wear facial masks the way many of you do now when you're going out and about. If we've been in contact with someone with COVID, we have to sign a form. And if you've been in contact with someone with COVID-19, you can't come into the building. You have to go home and quarantine for 14 days with no signs of any maladies or that you have any symptoms, and then you can come back to work. But we've been very blessed. And really, it's all about protecting our residents. That's why we don't have any COVID-19, because we're really diligent. We're really on top of this. It's very difficult. It's a really tough time, I know, for you at home, but it's stressful for everyone, I think, including the employees here. But you know what? We have an amazing company behind us. SPRINGPOINT Senior Living has been around for 103 years. It is phenomenal. It is the #1 not-for-profit senior living company in the state of New Jersey, and it's in the top 20 in the United States. But enough about that. What are we here to do today? Today we're here to hear about LifeCare, to find out what the benefits are, compare it and contrast it maybe to a fee-for-service agreement. But before we get into that, I'm going to run a PowerPoint presentation because it's intensive and we're going to want to go through it step by step. You kind of need to know a little bit more about what a CCRC is. And with that said, I'm going to play a quick little video just to give you an overview.
Meet the Daltons. Like you, they wanted to create a plan for their future. And like you, they had questions and needed answers. At SpringPoint Senior Living, we have solutions. So, the Daltons decided to take the next steps in planning their future, and you can too. The Daltons now live in a SpringPoint continuing care retirement community. They're enjoying an active lifestyle, new friendships, and the joy of maintenance-free living. And they now have peace of mind knowing that on-site healthcare is available should their needs change in the future. To become a SpringPoint resident, you pay a one-time entrance fee that secures your home. From beautifully appointed apartments to spacious cottages, we offer a variety of living options. As a resident, your monthly service fee covers all your living expenses. SpringPoint makes it easier to pay your bills with a single monthly check. The monthly service fee covers a variety of services and amenities, including utilities, interior and exterior maintenance, 24-hour on-site security, meals, housekeeping, and transportation services. Plus, you'll enjoy full access to the Community Fitness and Aquatic Center, library, enrichment programs, entertainment, spiritual care programs, and much more. We also offer high-quality on-site healthcare services that cater to the needs of each individual. Our full continuum of care offers increasing levels of care services that you may need as you age. This includes independent living options to home care, assisted living, rehabilitation, skilled nursing, and memory care services. So, what makes SpringPoint unique? We are CARF accredited, meaning we exceed the toughest standards for quality senior living. We are a nonprofit organization, so serving our residents is our primary concern. We also have a rich history of inclusion, creating a culture that encourages all our residents to live their best lives, regardless of their differences. Better yet, our complimentary Move Ahead program helps organize your move. Our caring team is here to minimize the work and make your transition easier. Now the Daltons not only have solid plans for the future, but are enjoying the carefree lifestyle of a SpringPoint community. And they can now enjoy all of the activities and services that we have to offer. It's time to take control of your future. Contact us today for more information.
Here I have gained and found so many friends, and we are so involved in different things. You can knock on your friend's door and you're always welcome. We go out to dinner once in a while. We go to the movies. We have cocktail parties before dinner. Just going into the dining room and sitting with different people every night. It's just wonderful.
So now that we know a little bit about why people move to a continuing care retirement community, we do have to talk a little bit before we get into the PowerPoint on LifeCare as to how does it all work? So a continuum of care, a CCRC, has a full continuum of care, which includes independent living, assisted living, long-term care, and subacute rehab. So I'm going to start on the back end. Subacute rehab is the part of a hospital that a hospital no longer has. For example, if you were in a hospital 30 years ago and you went in for a procedure, you might be there for a week or two. Those days are gone. Now, if you go to a hospital, you're typically there for about 3, maybe 4 days, and then they send you on your way. You're either going home or you're going to a subacute rehab. A subacute rehab is where you can get back on your feet, where you can get physical therapy, occupational, and speech therapy. With that said, once you get that, you can go home. Now, typically, Medicare will cover up to 20 or 21 days of subacute rehab at no cost to you. If you stay longer than that, you'll pay a portion of your bill. And the longer you're there, the bigger the portion is. So subacute rehab is not a permanent stay. Nobody lives there. It's a temporary stay. But it's an I have to, not an I want to. So if you need to go to subacute rehab, you need to go to subacute rehab. It's not a choice. Additionally, we have long-term care on the premises. Long-term care is similar to subacute rehab, except that it's a permanent move. Somebody that moves to long-term care, that's what we all recall as a nursing facility, right? It's run by nurses. Nurses are in the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the person that lives there, because it's permanent, really needs nurses round the clock. And again, that's an I have to make a move, not an I want to make a move. And again, the subtle differences is subacute rehab is a temporary stay, whereas long-term care is a permanent stay. We also have assisted living on the premises. Assisted living is, I guess it was created about 30 years ago. And the premise of assisted living is it's different than long-term care. Assisted living was created for the person who needs assistance with activities of daily living. Well, what are those? There's a lot of those, writing checks and driving cars. That's not the activities we're talking about. There are 5 core activities of daily living that we speak about when we talk about ADLs, activities of daily living. Bathing, dressing, toileting, feeding yourself, and getting up and transferring. If a person can't do at least 2 of those 5 things, for example, if you can't get out of bed in the morning and you can't shower, you probably can't go on with the rest of your day. So assisted living isn't nursing care. However, that person needs care all day long. So is that a I have to move, or is that I want to move? It's probably I have to. And again, that's a permanent move. The person lives there. But the largest part of a continuing care retirement community is independent living, like you and I. It's like living in your home or a condo or a townhouse. So if you're already living in your own home, why would you make a move to a continuing care retirement community? Because it's a full continuum of care. And between you and I, living in a continuing care retirement community and independent living is independent living on steroids. And what I mean by that, it's like a cruise ship that doesn't go anywhere. It has meals provided, transportation to and from your doctor, transportation to local museums and theater, to take you food shopping. There's activities like lectures, happy hour, trivial pursuit. There's a library. We have a full Live Well program, and that's where you'll be engaged, and that's the 7 aspects of healthy senior living. And that could be things like nutrition, or spirituality with our chaplain, or maybe you're going to the gym, or maybe you're going swimming, or taking a class like Tai Chi or meditation. It's the 7 aspects of healthy aging. It's what keeps you engaged. It's one of the main reasons people move to a SPRINGPOINT senior living community. So now that you have an idea of the different levels of care and parts of the community of a CCRC, how does it work? Well, it's an entrance fee community. You pay a chunk of money up front, and that chunk of money can range anywhere from $150,000 up to around $400,000 or $500,000. What's that based on? Well, I have 27 different floor plans, so it's based on the size of the apartment and is it 1 or 2 people moving into the community. So that's where your entrance fee numbers come from. The size of the apartment and how many people will determine the price of the entrance fee. There's a second fee. There's a monthly service fee. Your monthly service fee is basically glorified rent, but it's more than that because it covers your utilities. It covers your heat, your hot water, your electric, public water, public sewer. It covers your cable TV, and you have 200 channels here, so you're not paying for the box or the cable channels in general. It's maintenance-free living. Anything breaks, like a washer or a dryer, a dishwasher, a microwave oven, we fix it or replace it. You get housekeeping every 2 weeks, no extra cost. You'll get 30 meals per month in our restaurant or bistro per person. So if there's 2 of you, it's 60 meals. Plus, here at the Oaks, which is very special, you get continental breakfast. Most other communities don't offer that. Continental breakfast are things like scones, biscuits, muffins, dry goods. But it's also fresh fruit, prunes, coffee, tea, juice, etc. So your monthly service fee covers all of that. So you have to pay an entrance fee to move here and a monthly service fee to move here. You have to qualify to move here. There are 3 ways that you have to qualify. The first one's financial. So I would ask you questions like, and I would give you a form if you were very interested, a confidential resident application, and you'd fill it out, and you would tell me your age, where you currently live, a little bit of your background, but it's really looking at your finances. Do you own a home? Yeah. Do you own it free and clear? What's the value of it? What I'm going to need a copy of your last year's taxes. I'm going to need to know what your medical expenses are, what your typical expenses are, what kind of income you're bringing in, Social Security, pension, etc. We're going to take all of that information and we're going to put it into a software called FinAid. FinAid is going to determine, do you qualify to move here or not? Now, you want to know financially, can you qualify? I have to know. because in 103 years, SpringPoint Senior Living has never asked anyone to leave due to financial difficulties beyond their control. What do I mean beyond your control? Well, you can't take all your money and go to Vegas and put it on black, lose it, and say, you have to cover me for the rest of your life. It's a reasonable assumption that you're not going to be doing that, but that's what I mean. If it's beyond your control, if it's not beyond your control and you've been paying your bills the way you always have, we'll continue to pay your bills for you. How do we do that? Well, we have the SpringPoint Foundation. The SpringPoint Foundation is the benevolent arm of SpringPoint Senior Living, and it's specifically there. It has funds that would cover any of my residents should they ever become indigent and be unable to pay their bills. So it's a really unique situation, and you have to qualify. So we need to know in advance. We don't wait till after you move in. We do all this before you move in. So the first part is a financial qualification. The second part, we would give you medical forms that you'll take to your doctor. The doctor's going to fill out the form. In my case, Bill Brotman, he would say, Bill Brotman is suitable for independent living at the Oaks at Denver. Or he might say, Bill's not suitable for independent living, at which case we would no longer be able to proceed with the process, and you wouldn't be moving here, or I wouldn't be moving here. But more often than not, it's I'm suitable for independent living, or I'm suitable for independent living with a reasonable and suitable accommodation. Well, what does that mean? Well, maybe I need a walker, or I need a wheelchair, or maybe I just need a little bit of help. I don't need to move to assisted living, but I need help maybe getting out of bed in the morning and showering, and I can bring in care for up to an hour. At the Oaks, it's really unique. I may need 15-minute increments, and those 15-minute increments can go up to 2 hours, but maybe I only need an hour of care every single morning, or an hour of care 3 days a week to get me into the shower and get me dressed, and then they leave. Well, that's a reasonable and suitable accommodation. So once we have our financial qualifications and I'm qualified to move here and I have my medical qualifications, the doctor signed off and said I'm suitable for independent living with or without a reasonable, suitable accommodation, then the final step is my nurse. My nurse is going to assess, let's say it's me, and she's going to look at my balance. She's going to look at how I walk, my gait. She's going to ask me lots of questions like, where were you born? Who's the president of the United States? Can you count backwards from 100 by whatever number? She'll give me 3 words and tell me to remember what those 3 words are in 5 minutes. I don't have to get 100 on the exam or the assessment, but I can't get 0 either. There's got to be a happy medium. And once the nurse gives the blessing and the okay to move here, I can move here. So that's basically how the process works. With that said, I think we're prepared and we can start looking at what a LifeCare presentation looks like. So when we talk about LifeCare versus fee-for-service, I'm going to compare and contrast one specific apartment so that we are both looking at the same thing. So if I'm looking at a fee-for-service agreement, that would be a 90% refundable agreement, or I could be looking at a traditional declining balance LifeCare agreement. Let's compare the two. So with a 90% refundable agreement, let's say I moved in this year and I chose a 1-bedroom evergreen apartment, which happens to be our most popular apartment in the community. I'm going to pay an upfront fee, that's my entrance fee, of $276,200. 10% of that money comes right off the top and goes to the Oaks at Denville and SpringPoint Senior Living. That's $27,620. From the entrance fee, the $276,200, that leaves a refundable portion that would go back to the resident or their family, and that's $248,580. So if all the bills are paid on this agreement, in other words, while I'm living in independent living, or if I'm in assisted living, or if I'm in long-term care, as long as I've paid my monthly service fee, I will get back that full 90%. So in this case, that's $248,580 that will go back to me, or if God forbid I pass, it will go back to my estate. So let's take a look at what the traditional LifeCare looks like and how is the refund going back to my family at that point. So In 2020, which is now, a one-bedroom evergreen apartment is being offered at $275,200. Very similar entrance fee to what the refundable was. 10% still comes off the top, $27,520, and that goes to the Oaks at Danville and SPRINGPOINT Senior Living. That leaves $247,680 that would go back to me or to my family if, God forbid, I pass. So what's the difference? Well, here's the difference. This is a declining balance entrance fee. That means that from the $247,680, which is the 90%, 2% of the initial entrance fee will be deducted from that $247,680 every single month that I'm a resident here at the Oaks. So what does that mean? Well, the entrance fee was originally $275,200. My refundable portion is $247,680. 2% of the initial entrance fee of the $275,200 equals $5,504. Every single month will be deducted from the $247,680. Let's look at what that looks like on paper. So my refund due now is $247,680 after I paid my entrance fee. But for every month that I live here at the Oaks, $5,504 will be declined from my monthly service fee. So at the end of the first month, $242,176 is my refund. Next month, another $5,504 will come off of the refund. That means I'll get $236 back, $236,672. Next month, $5,504 again will come off. That will bring me down to $231,168. For all intents and purposes, at the end of 4 years, 48 months, there is no refund due. So you have to be asking yourself, well, if I'm going to be paying almost the same entrance fee under a refundable agreement, and I get 90% of that money back after 4 years or longer, but I can get a LifeCare agreement and I'm going to get nothing back at the end of 4 years, why would I choose a LifeCare agreement? Because LifeCare offers healthcare with costs that stay predictable throughout the life of you living here at the Oaks. Sounds good. I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's talk again about a refundable 90% fee-for-service agreement. So if I move in under a 90% refundable fee-for-service agreement right now into an evergreen, I'm going to be paying the entrance fee, but my monthly service fee will be $2,763 a month. Now, we have approximately 3 to 4% increase every single year. So the January of the next year, my monthly service fee will go between 3 and 4%. In this example, I'm basically saying we're going to choose 3% just for example purposes to make it easier. So in 10 years, I'm paying $27.63 now. Well, in 10 years, by 2030, I should be paying $37.13 a month in independent living for that apartment. That's what the increase is of 3% a month, 3% a year, every single year. My monthly service fee, if I transitioned in 2030 from my independent living apartment, what does that mean? Let's say I'm 85 when I move here, and now I'm 95 in 2030. Now I move to assisted living. It's going to cost me approximately $10,717 a month. What if I transition directly into long-term care or nursing? It would be $18,650 a month. Now, if you have long-term care insurance, and many of you do, that's okay. You have those costs in your mind, and that's why you have long-term care insurance. But let's compare that if I wanted to have a LifeCare agreement for the same evergreen apartment. So I move into the apartment this year in 2020, it's $3,082. In 2030, in 10 years, it will be $4,142 because of the 3% increase for every single year that I'm here over 10 years. But now I need to move to assisted living. Look at the difference. I was paying $41.42 in my independent living. Now I'm going to assisted living. It's still $41.42. If I needed to go to skilled nursing, it would be $41.42. Do you understand what I mean now? But when I say it levels out what your monthly service fees will be, It still goes up 3 or 4% every year, but this is very palatable. Now, if you don't have a long-term care insurance, this is great. If you do have a long-term care insurance, think about this. Let's say your insurance policy covers $6,000 a month while you're in assisted living. Your monthly service fee is only going to be $4,000. You're going to pay for it free and clear. You don't have to go into your pocket. Same thing with skilled nursing. So there's a real benefit if you want to tie your long-term care insurance together with a life care agreement. So how do we compare and contrast it? Let's look at this slide. If you look at a 90% refundable fee-for-service agreement versus a traditional life care agreement, and we're talking about in the year 2030, let's look at the first one where it says independent living. Under the 90% refundable, I'd be paying $37.13 a month to live in my apartment, my evergreen apartment. But under the traditional life care, I'm going to pay a few $100s more, about $400 more. It's $41.42 a month. Not terrible. It's a little bit more while I'm living in independent living. The benefit comes when I need to transfer to assisted living. Let's look at this. So if I'm under the 90% refundable agreement and now I transfer to assisted living, I'm paying $10,717 out of pocket if I don't have long-term care insurance. As opposed to if I have the traditional life care, I'm only paying $4,142 out of pocket. That's a big difference. That's a difference of almost $79,000 a year. If I'm in assisted living for 2 years, that's about $158,000. That is quite a bit of money extra out of my pocket. If I go to long-term care, look at the price there. Long-term care, nursing care, $18,650 under the refundable agreement. If I'm in a traditional life care agreement, it's only $41.42 out of the difference is $174,000 in 1 year. In 2 years, it's about $350,000, and if you want to go 3 years, it's over $500,000. So hopefully you can see the benefits of something like a life care agreement. Now, does everybody qualify for a life care agreement? No, everyone does not qualify for a life care agreement. It is actually harder to get life care than it is a fee-for-service agreement. Why? We talked about it earlier. You have to qualify financially, same financial qualifications. You have to qualify medically, yep. And you have to qualify and be assessed by my nurse who's going to ask you all those questions. Who's the president? Where were you born? Let me see your balance and gait. But it's stricter when we talk about a life care assessment. They're going to look at your medical. If you have COPD, you won't qualify for a life care agreement. If you have congestive heart failure, you won't qualify. Metastatic cancers, you won't qualify. Osteoporosis with frequent falls and fractures, you won't qualify. Huntington's disease, you won't qualify. Parkinson's disease, and there's a list of other things. So when people look at this and say, I really like that life care agreement, sooner is always better than later. Many times people wait too long. So with that said, I want you to hear a little bit more from another one of my residents who lives here and why she loves living here, and then we'll go to questions and answers right after that.
Moving here, the one thing I experienced that I never ever expected was the warmth of the people, the socialization that I had been missing since I had retired. We all have that one common feeling of brotherhood, sisterhood, community, and we do a lot of nice things together. We go to the paper mill playhouse, boat trips up to Lake Apatcong, down at the shore. So what more could I want? So what do I like about living here? Everything.
Well, they had like a plan to how to downsize, and see, I don't mind throwing things out. That's to me, that's a good quality, So, I mean, I don't save.
I'm lucky I've survived all these years.
I don't save, if I don't have room for something, that's all right. It's out.
But they really worked with us so much because our place sold. Once it sold pretty fast. And once it sold, the people wanted us out in 2.5 weeks. It was a cash deal, and they had a cash deal on where they were moving from. So we certainly weren't going to refuse a cash deal, and it was pretty close to what we were asking. So this place wasn't even ready yet, and the furniture wasn't in yet because we weren't expecting to move in till a later date. The marketing team did everything they could to help speed this along to get it finished so that we could move in a little sooner than we were supposed to.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank you. Before we get into questions and answers, I've been noticing you're all putting your questions into the chat. That's fantastic. We're going to answer all of those. I wanted to thank all of you for joining us today. I know you had other things to do, and this was probably about 45 minutes of your time. Normally it would have been more fun, plus we would have gotten a chance to eat. But those days are coming back soon. But in the meantime, this is how we have to handle it. In the chat box, if you would, you can ask me anything you want. The only thing I ask is that you please don't say anything about your specific financial situation or your specific medical or health situation, because people can see what you're typing into the chat box, and then they're going to hear my answer as well. So what I'm also going to do now, for those people that are interested and want to talk to me directly and say, let me tell you about my specific situation, our medical concerns, our financial concerns, or any other concerns that you may have, I'm going to give you my phone number. Again, my name is Bill Brotman. I'm the Senior Director of Sales and Marketing here at the Oaks at Denville. If you have a pen, my phone number is 973-664-3725. So with that said, let's delve into some of the questions that you have. Hopefully you enjoyed this seminar, and hopefully it was thought-provoking, because I do see a lot of questions there. I'm going to answer as many as I can. We have about 5 or 10 minutes to do that. And again, whatever I don't get to on this on the chat, or if it's too specifically for you, give me a call. We'll talk. I mean, you've registered. I know who you are, so when you call me, I'll be aware. But I wanted to thank you once again. Thanks so much for stopping in today at this webinar. It's been a pleasure, and I'll be seeing you soon.